I saw this online and I think she logged in and read my speech. So you're going to hear stuff already that has been said, but it's important to hear it twice, it might sink in, because the questions afterwards are going to be difficult. Yeah, please pay attention. So, I'm going to read, but I'll try and keep eye contact and do with speechy stuff as well, if I can remember. I'm just really rubbish at jokes, so you don't have to laugh at anything that I say. It's all serious. Please don't think that I'm trying to be funny. Thanks, Kerry. So, this is what it says on my laptop. I've not been to that many weddings in my time. I was really hardly at my own first wedding. We just popped into the registry office, we signed on the dotted line with a couple of witnesses, and we didn't tell anybody for years. Most of the wedding speeches that I've heard are about other people. They kind of sound like an acceptance speech for the Oscars. You know, thanks for this, we appreciate that. I'd like to mention my stylist. Glad you can make it, all that kind of stuff. Then you're supposed to tell a joke. And you've got to wait for the laughter. Then you get serious for a minute. And then finally you end with a quotation from Shakespeare, or maybe the Beatles or Beyonce, but you know, that's how you're supposed to finish your speech. But since I've got all of your attention, and I can talk about whatever I want to, I've decided to defy convention and talk about my fourth favourite subject. In case you're wondering, the first three, in no particular order: Liverpool Football Club. I'm not saying the order because I will get in a lot of trouble with different groups of people depending on who I say, but Liverpool Football Club, my children, and Lena. It wouldn't go well if I told you what the ranking was, so we'll just leave that at that. I'll say thank you to each of you individually. It means so much to us, everything that you've all done. But there's one person that I specifically wanted to mention today. Somebody who's not here, and that's Lena's dad. He's not well enough to travel, but you know, he's certainly here in our hearts and in our minds. So just wanted to mention that. But now it's all about me. I've been around for a while. Most of my friends think I'm an okay kind of guy. My kids just think that I'm really old, and my mom thinks that I'm wonderful. I tend to agree with my mom. But, you know, you've all got to make up your own minds. But whichever way you look at it, I've been around for pretty much spot on 50 years, and I have learned a few things in that time. I made a list of these things that I've learned, some of my wisdom that I thought I could share. But when I read them back, then they sounded quite cliche. You know, any self-help book or beautiful picture of a wolf and the sunset on the Facebook will say pretty much what my pearls of wisdom added up to. And I'm sure you all know it yourselves anyway. One thing that I have learned, though, which cliche otherwise I thought I would share, is that any experience is worth having if we learn from it. You know, good and bad experiences make us what we are. And I have to admit I've had my fair share of both. When I was young and backpacking, I slept on Paddington Station in London in my sleeping bag with the tramps until I got moved on at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning by the police. In my brief spell at university, I was arrested at an anti-apartheid rally. It got a bit out of hand. I've been present at the births of each of my children. I've fired a gun in anger in a mortal combat situation. I've ridden my motorbike through the Alps to the south of France with my favourite lady by my side. I've watched the sun rise over the Red Sea, and I've watched the sun set over the Pacific Ocean. Some really brilliant things. I count each of these experiences as worthwhile. They made me what I am, and they've brought me here today, and that's what's important about them. I've got a really wonderful family, which has grown today. It's doubled in size. I've got fantastic children, and each one of them have their own blessings and talents. You saw some of those today. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to talk about what I saw from my kids today, because it's just beyond words. But pride doesn't even come close to describing how I feel about my children. And I've also got a wife now, who was made for me. Most of you are bored to death with me going on about religion and God, because I'm just a fundamentalist atheist, and I don't see any need for God, I don't see any proof of God, and I don't see any good that comes from it. But if there's one thing that might make me change my mind, it's the fact that there's a Liena in the world. I'm just so fortunate to have found a Liena. And words can't really express how she fulfills me. Well, I say that words can't really express that, but I'm going to try. Because I've got a chance for you to all hear from my own lips how I feel. Now we come to the bits which Richard has said, but bear with me. So we met at Dance Camp North almost 5 years ago. I camp every year with the same group of friends. Some of them are sitting here with us today. And in August 2008, Keith brought two of his lodgers with him. Keith's got a lovely big house in York, and he's always got interesting people living there. He persuaded these two girls that camp would be a great experience for them and that they would have a good time. We all knew that Keith just wanted somebody to carry his bags and look after him and bring him his food and not stand in the queue. But he brought two young girls with him, a Japanese girl called Chihiro, who's still a friend of ours, and a Latvian beautiful girl called Yena. I'd been single for a long time when we met. I wasn't particularly looking for love, and Yena was so gorgeous and young and sexy. I knew she was out of my league. I didn't even kind of bother, to be honest. But one night we were sat under the stars around the campfire, and everybody drifted off to their tents, and in the end it was just me and Yena left. And I was enjoying the fire, and so I said, these magic words that Yena obviously needed to hear. I said, "Do you want to talk?" Well, she hasn't stopped talking since. But it was obviously the right thing to say. And as I said, some of our friends were camping with us in that same circle in the tent, in their tents at night when the magic happened, that first meeting, that real meeting between me and Yena. And Keith still complains about the noises that Richard has mentioned. We've heard a lot about it.
3:20 in the morning.
But for me, it was the start of a really fantastic journey. Getting to know, getting to fall in love with a wonderful woman. What I didn't anticipate was that she would fall in love with me in return. I am, as most I'm quite laid back. Some people say that I'm lazy. I just say that I'm conserving energy for more important things. I don't quite know what those more important things are, but I'm just making sure that in case I need a bit of energy, there's always some stored up somewhere. But Lena, as you know, is a different type of animal. She's more like a Tasmanian devil. She's passionate, active, helpful, it says here. Interested. She's not afraid to show her emotions. She's keen to try her hand at anything. She'll have a go, and she's quite loud. I've had a reasonably unconventional life. It's been a very interesting one. It's been a great one. But I never really believed in marriage, to be honest with you. And having had a divorce, I knew I would never get married again. I didn't think there was any circumstances, in which I would want to. But having spent time with Yena, and spent more of my life with her, I felt more strongly about committing my future to her. I knew that she'd given up on the hope of ever getting married. she always dreamed of the white dress and the flowers and having our people around us. But she'd given up on that, and she was still prepared to stay with me. So when we were in this beautiful hotel room in Nice on the south coast of France, looking out over the very blue Côte d'Azur, drinking a beautiful French wine, when I asked her to marry me, her first words are you joking? And it was only when I think I took out the ring and gave it to her, the ring that I'd measured and bought in secret, that I'd hidden on my motorbike and I carried with me for a week through France, and which fitted her perfectly. She knew that I actually meant it. Happy as we both were at that point, I think that I made probably the cruelest and most difficult demand that anybody could ask of her. I was really keen that the first people to hear about our engagement would be my children. And so I made a promise that she would wait until we told my kids before she was allowed to tell anybody else. It took us about 2 weeks before we were back in the UK and before I could gather all my children, because they do tend to be all over the place. So I think that was probably the hardest 2 weeks of Leanna's life, just trying not to tell people that we got engaged. She couldn't even tell her mother. Now, I've mentioned many of the beautiful, wonderful qualities that I've seen and fallen in love with, but there's one quality which really dominates not just our relationship, but Leanna's life as a whole. So this quality is patience. And that's something that all of us who know and who love Leanna know that she's a little bit short of. She wants everything now, and I do mean now, not in 5 minutes' time. I don't know how she managed to keep the secret of our proposal for 2 weeks. But it's one of the things that I really loved and appreciated about you, honey, that you managed somehow to do that. Not only did she have to wait 2 weeks after I proposed before we could tell anybody, but we've actually had to wait almost exactly 2 years from that proposal to this day. And for a very long time it seemed like the wedding would never come, it was just ages away. It was way in the future when we drew up lists, we spoke about caterers and venues, we wrestled with who we could invite, how much we could spend on chair covers, all of these things. It was just, a way distant dream. I'm not a particularly creative person, but when you look around you today, what you see is a wedding that's been created with beautiful attention, care, and loving design. All of that has come from Vienna. She bought the flowers herself, she bought the vases herself, she made the bouquets, she made the arrangements. It was her idea to have the paper tissues around, the tea lights, all of the things that you see, and the stay that we've made has been Vienna's vision. And on this day, on this really, really lovely, fantastic occasion for us, I just want to acknowledge and appreciate the creativity and the beauty and the eye of this woman that I'm really proud to call my wife now. I know that I've gone off of my chosen subject, which is me, and I've talked more about Vienna than myself. But when I thought about that after I've written it, I think that whoever Vienna is, I am. I'm so happy, I'm so honoured and thrilled to be sharing my life with you, honey. And it's fully joined with hers. We're a package deal now. And both of us are so fantastically thrilled that all of you could be here with us, that you could share this time, this day, and this experience with us. And so I wanted to just say thank you from the depth of any superlative that I could find. There aren't words, but we love all of you, and it's just been fantastic to have all here. Thanks very much.
Right. almost working best.